Good afternoon. This is Rick Ackerman, editor of Rick's Picks, and I do these presentations on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today, I want to take a look at a couple of charts. It appears that some of the broad indices are at very critical places. You can see here in a daily chart of the Emini SPs that it's just coming up on a 314750 hidden pivot target. The actual target lies just above. And I will mention that some targets that stretch back on patterns quite a ways earlier than this one, bigger patterns, have already gone just a bit above their corresponding targets. But just the same, we are very cautious here because the stock market appears very overextended. This buying has gone on relentlessly for some time. As you can see in the charts, there have been no corrections of any significance since early October. So it's getting very overbought, and we're particularly cautious here. So the Emini S&Ps had some very promising major hidden pivot resistances where we might have seen perhaps a major top. It hasn't occurred yet, but I want to show you one other chart here. This comes from my friend Peter Eliades, and Peter has quite a track record as a forecaster. He was named the top timer of the year for 5 straight years by Holbert's in his heyday. This is the New York Composite, and you can see it's trading up around 13,500 and change. And the trend lines that Peter has put on this chart are as much art as science. When you look at charts that have trend lines and channels and things like that, there's no hard and fast rules as to how you draw them. Usually you like to try to connect them up some significant highs and lows to begin with. So in this case, we started with some key lows back in 2006, early 2017 in this New York Composite. And you can see it did pick up many bottoms. And when you extend that trend line into 2019, it becomes not support as it was prior to then, but resistance. And as such, it has picked up a couple of pretty important tops as this bull market has proceeded in 2019. We have so far 2 rally tops that gave way to very significant declines. And as you can see, we are right at the threshold of that trend line. So the actual number, as near as I can calculate, is 13,576, I believe it was, or maybe it was 74. But within a couple points there, the actual high today occurred at 13,564. So we're only about 10 points off that, which in percentage terms is negligible. So you might say that the trend line has been fulfilled here. It's been hit. So we're going to be very careful right at this point. And you can see there are also a couple of red lines, another parallel channel there. And it represents an extension of the original trend line. The original channel goes back a bit further, but if we were to go above the black line, I would expect the New York Composite to get up to that red line before it encounters any significant resistance. So whenever we look at these technical markers, it's not with the idea of saying, hey, here's where the mother of all tops occurs. It's certainly tradable, and this is a place where we might consider getting short with a tight stop loss and a time limit of perhaps several days. Certainly, well, we could go to Friday or maybe the beginning of next week to test out some puts bought speculatively. But there's another thing that we want to be considering, at least, if these trend lines don't hold. And this applies also to some of my hidden pivot targets. I'll put out a target similar to the one that I just showed you in the E-mini S&Ps, ABCD, with the D as a hidden, what I call a hidden pivot resistance. And I don't mean to suggest that that's going to be where the rally stops dead in its tracks. And in fact, if it doesn't, if we see the, well, in this case, the New York Composite blow right through that black line, we would not assume that the trend line hasn't worked, but merely that it has failed to stop buyers because they are incredibly eager to buy stocks. So that's the takeaway from some of these technical benchmarks. If they don't seem to work, they actually have, in that they've instructed us as to the strength of the trend. So if we see by the end of the week that the NYA has closed above that the top of this channel, then I would back off a little bit on short selling. I'd be less inclined to speculate up here, although it's still possible to do it again on the cheap with some out of the money puts. So that is about it for today. If you'd like to delve more deeply into the hidden pivot method, I would suggest that you go to rickackerman.com, and up at the top of the page, just click on free trial. No credit card necessary. Free trial, just leave your email address and you'll be instantly transported into the world of Rick's Picks. Be sure to head for the chat room. There are two of them. One I call the trading room. The other is the coffee house. And they draw great traders from around the world. Not only great traders, but they're very helpful too. There are a lot of guys and gals in the room who are willing to share real-time ideas. So there's a very good exchange of tradable ideas and opportunities in there, and I would invite you to join us. So with that, I'm going to wish you a very pleasant, good day, and I will talk to you again on Thursday.